podcast by All Things Equal, where we are the sequel to the Shepherds and the Sheeple. Today's July 23rd, 2017, and this is episode 1 of the Reject Tree podcast, and this is what we ate today. What's happening, bro?
How's it going, everyone?
First, I want to shout out to allthingsequal.org because that's where I've basically put in like a moderate amount of work to our freaking website. It's a lot of work. We don't have a lot of time. We all work freaking jobs and whatnot, right? As I'm sure you all do too. So basically the reason that we're sitting here today is because we got sick of just freaking working dead-end jobs, and we decided that, you know, creative outlets need to be had, so we decided to start a podcast. But the main reason we're here is because we're All Things Equal. We're a band, and we like playing music, and we figured this kind of came part and parcel to just being able to get the music out there. So in the very first few podcasts, you're probably going to see quite a bit of us playing music, more of the stuff that's going to be found on our album, In Absence of Answers, which you can find on allthingsequal.org once our lazy asses get around to it. So basically, we're looking at it right now. This is my good friend, Andrew Board. He's also family, but he's also friends, so we decided to come together a couple of years ago and just started to play music. And
how long ago now? About three years ago we started playing music?
I want to say it's going to be at least that long. I mean, we've had some pretty friggin' extensive amount of horrible recordings that we had to get through.
Hours and hours of horrible recordings.
And just listening to, but that's really what it takes to make it, man. Like, if you're not, of a nature where you're so talented to be able to do what you do, sometimes you just have to grind it out, and that really kind of just sums up what we do. We grind out life, we've grinded out music, and basically, what was it? Hey man, you want to come over for the night? And I was like, here, take this guitar, play it.
Yeah, it was a bass guitar. I'd never played guitar before.
Well, if anything positive came out of this band, at least you played guitar, because it's one of those things that if somebody had said to me when I was like 16 years old, man, like, I wish I'd stuck with it then instead of waiting until my late 20s to actually experience music. That's why we're here now, way beyond the game, probably not even relevant in today's society, but we're going to do what we do. So,
in fact, that guitar over there, the blue one I was playing for the intro, that was the first guitar I ever had, and that was sitting around for over 10 years before I got the musical bug when you put the bass guitar in my hand.
Well, I'm actually quite, see, this is how you treat your woman falling there. You're just dropping her all over the place, basically. But no, I'm really glad that you got off the bass. I'm glad that the bass was at least enough to get you into playing guitar, because ironically, bass for me was a way to start getting all these songs that I'd written down over the years that I really didn't show anybody to. So I would have to say shout out to Taha Hydri right now, because if it hadn't been for that man, none of this would have happened. So whether you're enjoying it, that's up to you. But for us, if it hadn't been for that guy, I don't think any of this would have happened. Taha's a very snoopy little man, and decided one day he was going to read my lyric book that he found in my car, and I was so mad when I saw him read that book, man. I was like, that's like my personal thoughts, man. I have not showed anybody my writing in well over a decade.
He's going through all the deep stuff that you put in there that no one else knew, eh?
But you know what really stuck to me with that was when he said, man, this is really good. I'm going to phone my friend who plays guitar, and we're going to get him over there. And that was actually the very first band that I was in. Taha called a good buddy of ours, Matthew, Canute, great big giant of a man, but bigger heart than you'd ever even know.
Taller than me, that guy.
Yeah, he was a big lad.
He was a beast.
But he was a good dude. And I mean, at the end of the day, if it hadn't been for those two guys, I never would have tried to do anything artistic or creative. I probably would have just been like, you know, the worker drone, working away every day and never doing anything that gave me that creative outlet, because I didn't think I was creative. But, you know, Taha snooped through my book, and the next thing we knew, we were in a band together. So when that band broke up, inevitably, because we had no idea what the fuck we were doing, I ended up recruiting Andrew through means of just be like, pick up this bass and fucking play it.
We've been playing ever since.
And watched you evolve from a guy that didn't think he could even play the bass to somebody who's actually, through his creative elements on the guitar, has allowed us to create a lot of our songs. So really what it boils down to is you gotta try, man. Like, no matter what happens, if we're the only people who see this video right now, we're cool with that. At the end of the day, I'd much rather do something than nothing. So shout out to Foo Fighters' Dave Grohl on that one, because that was brilliant. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we got a little bit of a knack for the creativity, and if we don't do it on our deathbeds, we're going to be horribly regretful of not having tried, right?
I'll be happy to be looking back and watching this on our deathbed through holograms or whatever means in the future we have to watch this, because iPhone's not going to be around.
No, bro, by that point, the iPhone will be in your brain, so I have to be, it's like, play that video from 2017, right?
Oh, shit, I just got it.
Oh, can we access the allthingsequal.org website that nobody else has ever looked at? Hey, we got a YouTube channel now, too, because we just couldn't figure out the technology to do it any other way, so shout out to YouTube for helping us be here today. You've showed me a lot of great things, actually. If it hadn't have been for YouTube, would you have been the guitarist that you are today?
No, YouTube has actually been my guitar teacher.
Yeah.
It's a free guitar teacher. It's the best one.
Yeah, we got to do it in the comfort of your room without anybody judging you, right?
That's right. Didn't
by
cost
the
a
way,
dime either.
Yeah, well, if you look at it, YouTube also taught me how to tie a tie, and I still have to go to that same video every time, because if you can keep looking something up, you'll never actually learn how to do it. So, being that friggin', I've seen what you've been able to put onto the guitar since we've started this whole project. It's been awesome, dude. Like, no matter what happens,
I appreciate that, bro.
Fucking loving it. Well, I mean, look. If people want to get into like egos and stuff like that when it boils down to bands, and it's like, I could be like, bro, I sing all the songs, I friggin' make all the melodies, and I write all the lyrics, so like I am like all things equal. And it's like, no, man, half the lyrics that came out of your freestyle guitar parts, and if you hadn't have done that, none of those lyrics would have gotten written. So together we are all things equal, and this is actually welcome you once again to the Reject Tree podcast, because my wife's awesome, and that's what she calls Andrew. Basically, we're just hanging. We're the low fruit.
Do you know how that
on the
happened?
Reject Tree. No, I would like to hear the story actually.
Oh, it's because Jamie's kind of a wacky person. Like, Jamie's my cousin, his wife. That's
Best person.
That's
you
how
ever
our
met.
relation.
Gotta love that girl, man.
She is the sweetest girl in the world, and she doesn't drink, she doesn't smoke, she doesn't toke. She's just high on life and happy with her dog and her horses. Like, best.
Oh, don't forget her husband. Shout out to me.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, like, sweetest girl I know, and she really silly, kind of quirky sense of humor, I'd say. So one day I was in the kitchen with her, and she loves to sing. So she's singing, "Andrew lives in a pineapple under the sea," and then I thought she said, "Andrew lives in the reject tree."
Oh.
And so she thought that was so funny, because, you know, it's a bit of a blow at my self-esteem living in the reject tree.
But you know what? We kind of do, because I mean, in the world of kings and freaking queens, we're the lower hanging fruit on the reject tree. And if you've ever listened to any of our lyrics, you can see that a lot of it has to do with exercising demons. And when I write, I don't only write for myself. I think a lot of some of the conversations that Andrew and I have is what makes its way into our music. So, I mean, really, the only reason that we're even doing this now is because we have time to kill, and I just fucking worked a 10-hour workday. I drove 3 hours friggin' round trip to be here. I just want to chill out. And I mean, we think we're fucking hilarious, so we figured we might as well start doing this and try to incorporate it with our music. So, at the end of the day, the very first few podcasts that you're going to hear, as I said before, are going to include a lot of our music. So, what it boils down to is the only reason that we're doing this is just creative output. Bearwater, Miller Lights, and you like our fancy backdrop here. I'm just going to map this out. This is our dartboard, because it was the easiest thing for us to freaking make a picture of for album art. So the darts actually represent where they hit on the numbers. See if you can figure it out, but all things equal, we are the sequel. And this is actually a bed sheet that if my wife found out was hung up here right now, she'd probably be pretty pissed off. Except we don't really use a bed sheet other than the freaking the comforter. And my wife's cool, so she was good with it. Didn't even notice it. But yeah, nice black backdrop there. Really makes us pop. Makes us look extremely white. And I think we're kind of ghoulish, right?
Well, it's kind of funny because we wear a lot of dark colors anyway, so we're kind of blending in the background.
Microphone to put the joint out. Cardinal spin. Sorry,
Party
ladies and
foul
gentlemen.
number
Party
one.
foul on us here. But yeah, I think for you, at the end of the day, I think this has probably been like a great creative outlet for both of us. And if anything,
same goes for your singing and your lyrics. I mean, your lyrics from the beginning, I always thought they were really cool, because back then, when I didn't play music, I was writing, but it wasn't music I was writing poetry. And so I could really appreciate what you were doing, because some of them were really fucking clever, but some really, deep shit, and touching on issues that people don't normally touch on, because everything on the radio now is all about money and pussy and all sorts of other
and that's
nonsense.
the worst part. I guess if that's what motivates you, that's what you sing about. Like, but for me, like, the whole thing that I started with this whole writing project back when I was 13, like so many years ago, I didn't even know what it was. It was just kind of like an exercise for me. So all those years of not showing it to anybody, it was kind of like almost like a journal of sorts for me. It allowed me to purge a lot of that negative thought process that freaking really keeps people going. Like, I don't know what everybody thinks about society, but shit's fucked out there, man. You can't be anything, you can't be anyone. This is offensive, that's offensive. Freaking people don't seem to love each other anymore. And I think really, for us, the writing and the music is what allows us to get that out. So we can sit here and like be like, hey, I'm happy that I freaking worked a fucking 10-hour day and had to drive 3 hours to do so, right? But if we have these outlets, I think that makes it all okay, right?
That's the one thing about music and art and any kind of expression like that is it's one of those mediums where you could say anything that's like within you, that's even if it's kind of corny or nonsensical, and just put it out there, and that's a real legitimate part of yourself.
Yeah, and someone else is going to relate to it. Because I think what we do is we paint ourselves into these little corners where like, oh, I'm so weird because I think about things like this. Man, everybody thinks about that sort of shit. And I think it's...
Try Googling a thought.
Yeah.
I guarantee a billion other people have Googled the exact same thing. We are not alone as much as we feel alone.
3/4 of the way through what you're typing, somebody else will be like, yes, I've also asked this question. So, you know, unfortunately, there's not a lot of resources out there for people. And I think with us being so divided, you know, these conversations that Andrew and I have, these, you know, the songs that we write, kind of give us an opportunity to get out there and try to find like-minded people, because I know we're not the only ones that feel this way. And I think really, if everybody could just start to, rather than put up these walls and pretend to be something that they're not, just to be like, hey man, you know what, I got Bill Trouble too. I think a lot of people be like, no, I'm successful and I do fine, and then they go home and they're like, how the fuck am I going to pay these bills? Like, there's something that's like part and parcel about putting yourself out there as something that's successful. I think we all struggle, man.
Sometimes you just gotta like really push to get it out there. And you know what? Speaking of which, you wrote a song all about that.
Actually, I did write a song.
I think we should play that song.
All right, grab up Blue. I'll nip this for the second half of the podcast.
That'll be our little
this shisha cigarette that we're smoking here right now.
That's right. It's entirely, good products.
And the songs that we're going to be featuring on this podcast, we're going to try to do something a little different. Like, as I said, a lot of our music's going to make it in for the next little bit, but we're going to try to gravitate away from it as we get going. But this is a song that we wrote called Push that kind of defines, I guess, really what we just talked about.
Ready to go?
Yeah, give her. Are closing in, I'm heading down this road again. I don't know what's in store, but you're heading for I know I need you more than anyone you'll leave me for. I can't live with your ghost because you're the one I need the most. I push, just push. You push me down, but I get back up. You push me away, but I survive the cut. You push me to a place where I might break, but I find a way and I escape. Just push. You gotta push. I try to keep the wolves at bay, but I'm run down and feeling drained. They circle close, they're trying near. They got me cornered, I face the spear, trying to take all I hold dear. Them overwhelmed, they smell my fear. These are things that I don't want to hear, but I stand my ground till the coast is clear. I push, just push. You push me down, but I get back up. You push me away, but I survive the cut. You push me to a place where I might break, but I find a way and I escape. Just push. tough song, man.
That is a tough song.
It's one of those ones that we've rehearsed the least and probably weren't going to feature in today's podcast, so we came across the topic. But it's one of those things where it's like, when you're self-trained, a lot of the times you don't know where to take the breaths for singing. That's actually why I stood up and got off camera. So sorry if that was really unorthodox, like where did he go? But I got to stand for that one, man. I got to hit the bottom of that diaphragm, and I still got to wait. I got to push on that one. Not to pardon the pun. But yeah, it's one of those ones where I've just got to keep training myself in order to learn where to breathe. Like, it's one of those things, the way that we've approached it, we've never really gotten into, I guess, kind of like that mentality of doing it professionally. So we're amateur as they get, but we like what we do. So.
I have never had a guitar lesson a day in my life. I've only taken the YouTube videos and sitting for hours and hours trying to figure it out. That song will get cleaner as it goes.
Oh, yeah.
Just played a million more times. That's the thing about music. You gotta suck before you sound good. And even when it comes to new songs for us that we end up making, we suck at them at first, and then we polish them, and then...
I mean, I think that's the process, right? Like, I almost feel so like I need to, like, sprint down the street every day and sing that as I'm going in order to get that extra breath that I just can't seem to hit. So, like, being untrained, like, understandably, like, I never intended to be a lead singer. Like, I honestly thought the very first band that I was in, I was just going to play bass, write the songs, and really not have to get to the forefront. So kind of what's been, like, I guess the hiccup for us going forward is, like, maybe my lack of confidence when it comes to actually getting out there and doing it. But it's one of those things, like, you know, being the bassist, you just got to hide in the back, and it's like nobody even knew I wrote those songs. So when we lost our first band, and Andrew and I decided, like, fuck it, we're just going to grind it out, and we're going to make music because we love doing it. And I never intended on being a lead singer. If anything, I just wanted our lyrics to be sung. It's kind of weird if we just did instrumentals all the time. So, you know, regrettably, I've been forced into the role of the lead singer, and I've practiced it.
No, don't say regrettably. It's turned out quite good.
It's been a huge growth for me as a person, and I'm glad that I've done it. I'm going to continue to fucking do so. But I think listening to myself for the first, 2 years, like, the way that I've come, I'm not even ashamed of that friggin', like, last thing. And really, I shouldn't have smoked that joint right before we fucking got up and sung. I lost a little bit of lung capacity, but no, I think with a lot of polish, that song's gonna friggin' be, like, really good for us. And I love the lyrics. I think the lyrics really speaks to a lot of issues. You can look at it from a sense of, living and loving and losing. You can look at it from, the mental health aspect of, trying to keep the wolves at bay. And really in that reference actually plays more to just trying to keep the bill collectors at bay. But I think a lot of those topics people can relate to, and that's why I know that at the end of the day I think we make good music. So we're just going to keep on rehearsing, keep on practicing, and hope to bring more and more of that into our live playing and our recording and our album that we're working on. Once again, name drop in absence of answers, allthingsequal.org. When it comes down to it, these early podcasts are kind of like our very first live performances because we haven't performed live yet.
This is the most we've ever gotten our feet wet with anything such as this.
You've never even been on stage. At least I've got those 5 bass things in there, but
most I've ever done in public is like playing in a park and maybe some randoms walk by, or I play in front of my family all the time.
And you know what the nice thing is? I have, like, absolutely no fear for you and how you're going to translate to the public. I think really at the end of the day, I need to have the same confidence I had for you and myself. So we'll see how we get. But we're doing it. Like, we're going for it, right? Like,
but you know what?
Sink or swim.
That's one thing I will say for not just us, but anyone out there who's playing music as a group, is it's a group effort. You're not individuals playing parts. You're all just collaborating to make a big picture, and that's what's most important. You can't lose sight of the big picture.
No, you can't, which is why you can't give up on a song.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, like, the song that we just did for you, Push, we put together, like, 18 days ago. I think maybe we've played it 25, 30 times.
Maximum.
And that sounds like a lot, but, like, I mean, if we look at, like, a song like My Alibi, which we're going to be doing shortly, it's the story of my lifetime.
Which is an ironically lyric drop right there.
Another lyric drop, yeah. We love doing that, but hashtag lyric drop. It's one of those songs that we played for so long and didn't enjoy, and we're, like, willing to give up on it because it didn't work. But even as we have it now, I know we can still do it better, but it's one of our most rehearsed ones, and it's like kind of gives maybe anybody out there who's of a lesser skill set, who's just getting started on all this. We haven't played that song 1,000 times yet, and it's our oldest song. So if you think about, like, how much effort you have to put into playing into your music, you're going to get bored with it, but then you're going to get excited, and then you're going to get bored. And really, until you've
It's
played
a
it a
peaks and
thousand.
valleys kind of deal.
Absolutely. Would you know? You got to play it at least enough times to know for sure, and it can evolve beyond that. So let's hit him up with my alibi.
Yeah,
and,
why
we'll
not?
show him what it takes to maybe get even close, because I know we're still a ways away, but
It's kind of funny for a song.
not to be self-deprecating. This is the one that we kind of want to hang our hats on. So it's the one that's got the circuits under the belt.
And for a song like Push, that as you just said, we probably played, you know, however many times, what, like 20, 30 times, something
Maybe.
like that. We've played this song probably 200 times, and we still have to play it 200 more.
Yeah.
500 more to
I mean,
keep on going.
Absolutely. I mean, Push is only a month old, but I think we still got another 1,000 of these under our belt before we get it right. So hit him with my alibi, Hendrik. The city lights were burning bright. They drew me in late one night, and I know I can make it right. On my own, I lost my sight. The story of my alibi, the story of another time. I turned my back on you, looking to find my way, but I got further away. Time flew by in my past life. I dug in and tried to fight. I always thought that I knew best. I wanted more but needed less. The story of my alibi, the story of another time. I turned my back on you, looking to find my way, but I got further away. I changed my path and I returned. I had to swim, the bridge was burned. Oh, once you're gone, you can't come home. An empty house, an empty throne. The story of my alibi, the story of another time. I turned my back on you, looking to find my way, but I got further away. If we try, we can repair. We'll build it all the way uncompared. I found my peace, my soul can rest. I'm glad to have this off my chest. The story of my lifetime, a story done, there's no rewind. I learned to read the signs. I finally found my way. I'm home and here to stay.
Whew, that's a good song. I love that song.
You know, and there's something to be said too. For as many times as we played that, there's still something, the nerves. You know what I mean? We could play that song friggin' 10, 15 more times tonight and friggin' get our perfect set recording. So that's why I'm glad that we're doing this before we go to Connor's Music in Keswick, Ontario. That's where we're going to be recording all of our songs for our very first album, In Absence of Anthers.
Some great people that work there, and some very talented people that work
absolutely.
there. Bernadette Connors, the singer, works there.
Absolutely. Well, no, Bernadette Connors, the singer, is actually stands alone on her own as an amazing singer, and I wish that she got more appreciation. But anybody who lives in this area, check out Connors' music. It's on the Queensway South, right near friggin' Metro and Morton Avenue. We're gonna have a really good time there, I think, and I think it'll be really nice for us to be able to put forth our best efforts, because I think that's really what's gonna set us aside when we finally do actually get on stage. Because really, anybody who's seeing this right now, you're our very first audience. So we were even nervous for you tonight. So with nobody looking at us, I kind of wonder what we're gonna see when we get there. But we've kind of enjoyed doing what we're doing. We're gonna continue to do so. So I think, bro, it's your call, man. What's the red dot you want to take off the board?
Well, I'm trying to think. One song for tonight.
One more song. We're coming up on 30 minutes here, so.
Wouldn't mind doing not hide and seek. You hide and seek?
I can do hide and seek.
Alright.
Yeah, we'll break that out. That was actually featured on our very first pilot, I guess we would call it, episode. We didn't even intend to record that. It's also, you know, the very first post that we actually have under this YouTube account. It's All Things Equal, and the Reject Tree podcast at YouTube. So basically, if you're catching us there, come on over to our website. I promise that I'm actually going to do some more work on it. You'll finally get to see our merch. You know, we're very half-assers. We're just trying to get it all together. But at some point or another, it's going to be all together up on the website. There'll be merch, there'll be show dates, there's going to be albums, there's going to be more and more podcasts, more and more live music, and maybe a few freestyles in there. If we get a little bit tipsy one night, we might have a go at it, right? But we're going to give you another version of Hide and Seek this evening. We're on Steel Strings tonight instead of the classic that we were on yesterday. So July 23rd, 2017, Hide and Seek. Let's go.
Here to go.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Everybody, this is episode number 1. of the Reject Tree podcast. So make sure you head on over to allthingsequal.org, and at some point or another, there's going to be content for you to look at. Right now, you're just going to find podcasts, really not much of anything. I did some pretty nice fonts. I think you might like those when you get over there. But you know what? We're going to hook it up quick times because now we actually have the motivation to do it. And if there's anything you know about a working man, you need some friggin' motivation. So, Andrew, thanks for being here with me this evening as always, bro. All things equal.
All things equal, man.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night, everybody.